I, 30, female, live in a relatively safe neighborhood. Barring the occasional mugging attempts, one of which took place right against my bedroom window with one of my neighbors, or the few times a random guy in his car follows me to my place asking for my phone number, things are generally stable. I typically have a way of dealing with those guys by taking advantage of a random empty lot on my street where cars can't drive, forcing them to go around the block, and by the time they manage to turn around the corner, I will have ran back into my house. No biggie. A few months ago, some genius in our street paid someone in the city to move the neighborhood garbage disposer to another place. Whereas before it was right down the block, now it's a few minutes away. Now I have to walk a while before I can throw my garbage in a usually quite busy area, which I find embarrassing. So I started waiting until nightfall to do so. I know, stupid, with everything I told you before, but I got sloppy. Things started feeling safer in the last few months, and so I felt comfortable leaving my home after sundown. Until last Sunday, at least. Like usual, I waited until it was dark to go. After throwing the garbage, I stopped by the convenience store nearby to pick up some things. On my way back to my place and at the entrance of my street, I noticed a young man standing in front of a parking lot located in front of one of my neighbor's houses across the street from mine. He was talking on the phone and looked away from me, but as I rounded up the corner, I noticed a guy sitting quietly on his motorbike right in front of my doorstep. Something about the way he was already looking at me just as my eyes landed on him freaked me out. I did a quick math and realized that by the time I would be able to open the door, if ever, he would catch me if he wanted to. This time, the empty lot trick wouldn't work, as I would have to walk past him first, but also his motorbike could be driven on it. I turned on my heels back to the convenience store, hoping he was just a delivery guy waiting for someone to meet. I dilly-dallied at the store for a while, but when I went back home, I found he was still there on his bike, while the guy in front of my neighbor's parking lot was also still on his phone, just staring at me before I'd even seen him. I realized then and there that something was not right. And luckily, I had noticed the security guard on the street behind us was sitting in his booth. I approached him and explained the situation, hoping he'd walk me to my place, which he gladly did. The moment the guy on the phone saw me return with the security guard, he put his phone in his pocket and turned towards the guy on the bike, who drove to him. Keep in mind, these two were not even looking at one another, let alone look like they knew each other. The guy who was on his phone sat behind the motorbike dude, and they both drove past me while staring at me. Both the security guard and I agreed that something was funny about the entire situation, and he thankfully waited until I was safely behind locked doors. I don't know if those two wanted to mug me or if they had more sinister intentions, but I'm just glad I trusted my gut and didn't go home. Otherwise, who knows what would have happened.